For me, it made me realize I have no friends, and people won't talk to me unless I talk to them. These are very lonely times. Story 1, it comes and goes. It's very difficult to maintain relationships when you don't have things in common anymore. And making new friends is so damn hard. Story 2, a little more initiative cannot hurt. I am a reclusive sort. I frequently go days without communicating with anyone. However, I learned long ago sulking can be cured with a bit of reciprocity. Try it a little and reach out more, but gently if you have to. Story 3. My last good male friend moved back in with his parents. The last time he hung out with me was on my birthday. I was driving him back to his house the night before he had to move back. He was drunk. I had no problem driving him. And he suddenly just opened up and said, "Hey, I know we've been hanging out for a year and a half down here in Cincinnati, but I don't want to be friends after I leave. I don't like being friends with you, and hanging out with you and your girlfriend has been boring." Like I want to say, well, forget that guy, but I literally don't want to because that's the last guy friend I had. Like, I know us guys can be emotionally stunted sometimes, but come on man, we could have just fizzled out. Why did you have to sour all the time we spent together? Story 4. I have my geek squad with whom I play Dungeons and Dragons a lot, and we've all gotten closer over quarantine because we've been the only people we have been seeing. Story 5. Well, 3 have overdosed on heroin in the past 2 months, so I'm basically running out of friends. 1 was in recovery for years. 1 didn't do it at all but got a hold of some through a new girlfriend who was a user. 1 was a regular, but she was a nice person. For reference, I've never done drugs. This is surprising to me. I believe it's the fentanyl that's killed them. Story 6. I kind of lost most of my friends, to be honest. After I finished college last December, all of my friends from there either went down to a couple of texts here and there or nothing really at all. I've only seen a couple of them in person this year, and it was only one time. I had a decent number of good friends from work, but when I changed positions to a different shift, I stopped having more than a passing conversation with them there. After the pandemic became a big deal, anything outside of work stopped altogether. Then, after something happened between me and one of them, way too long a story to explain here, I don't really consider a few of them I was closest to as friends at all. I've gained a couple of friends here and there, but it's been a pretty massive net loss overall. Story 7. Lucky enough to have a group of 5 friends I've hung out with since grade 1. They've all moved away, but COVID gave us the time to reconnect. Now we have an online board game night every week. Also, I have a family Stardew game weekly with my sisters. I have a feeling I am one of the lucky ones. Story 8. It made me realize that I still have friends, but no actual meaningful friendships. I've dealt with depression for years, but it's actually been okay for the last 6 months or so. My issue now is that I feel angry all the time and I don't really feel like talking to anybody, not even my friends who I'm not that close with anyway. Does anyone else feel drastically different from one day to the next? I'll make plans 3 to 4 days in advance to hang out with people, and then on the actual day I end up canceling because I just don't have the energy for it. I'm sure I'll wake up one day with absolutely nobody to talk to and I'll be miserable for it. Story 9. I find it increasingly difficult to maintain friendships across the political aisle. In my head, we fundamentally believe different things and want different types of futures for our children. Even friendships I've had across multiple decades. Story 10. Message some friends from time to time, but basically no day-to-day or week-to-week friends, just my family. Hoping there will be a couple of end-of-lockdown parties I can get an invite to. Story 11. I cut a few of my friends off just before the COVID-19 pandemic as I began to realize they simply didn't care for me or make any effort to keep the friendship alive. The pandemic reinforced that belief, as they have made no effort to reach out. I do have a handful of good quality friends now who I talk to semi-regularly, but I no longer confide in them. Suffer in silence, as it were. I'm male, it's how I'm expected to deal with things. I'm very lonely, to be honest. Story 12. This is a thread I've needed, darn. It's been rough. I've always been a bit socially anxious, but doing sales and getting really good at it for a few years solved that. But in college and high school, I was a loner, or if I did have a friend, it was just a girlfriend, and that's all I felt I needed. When people meet me, they find me nice, chill, charming, maybe even funny. I love small talk and can talk to anyone that's open. I love people, but I have trouble believing they like me back. I'm way too sensitive and can take the smallest thing as an offense when they didn't mean it that way. I'm aware of it and getting better, but it's tough and can make me seem needy. Sometimes I just have to sit down and be like, dude, chill, it doesn't mean anything. Because I absolutely know that's the truth, but I don't feel like it is. So I've made a ton of progress, but a long way yet to go. And yeah, this year I got laid off, went back home for a bit, totally alone except for my dad for months. Being lonely is awful, you can feel it almost physically. It's literally like being thirsty as heck and having no water, but it's your emotions that are messed up. Anyways, I guess this is really just me journaling to myself. But to everyone else out there hurting, let's hang in there. Story 13. Dude, I came to the same realization this year. When my birthday came around, I purposefully took the date off all my social media to see if anyone would remember it was my birthday without the app reminding them. Needless to say, no one remembered. Not that it hurt my feelings. It just solidified my thoughts that most of my relationships were one way. I have since deleted most of my social media, like Facebook and Instagram, because I'm done sharing my life with people who couldn't care less about how I'm really doing. I'm being intentional with the few real relationships I do still have and cherish. Hang in there, man. You're not alone. Story 14. I mean, it for sure sucks not seeing people, but my friends are like family. No one is going to disappear just because everyone is stressed and maybe not as able to reach out. I have kept in frequent touch with my best friend and the other closest people to me, and otherwise I reach out when I have the energy for it. I figure most people are in the same boat. Story 15. Amazing. I started a new job last year and didn't have any close friends after having a falling out with my best friend of over 5 years. I had no idea how toxic she was until I made friends with some coworkers and was blown away by the fact that I felt like they actually cared for me and enjoyed my company. Apparently, I didn't know how a healthy friendship was supposed to be. Story 16. I know this is going to sound crazy, but I'm really glad the pandemic happened in the sense that I found who my real friends were. Right when the pandemic started, my friends became ghosts. I chalked it up to them being scared of the state of the world, and I would send check-in texts and phone calls that wouldn't be answered. Fast forward to when things started opening up again and said friends started going out again, being responsibly social. I visited home many times and reached out, to which they were always busy, and yet I'd see social media posts with them hanging out with one another. That hurt, and I admittedly struggled with that for a while. Then I started hanging out with friends I hadn't seen in a while. We caught up like it was yesterday. I made new friends at work during the pandemic, and I've been spending a lot of time with them. I realized it's not about how many friendships you have, but the quality. I'm sorry to hear you are in a give-and-take relationship with your friends. True friends will always reciprocate. Story 17. All promises of being in touch were fake. We already knew that, but this year there is so much practicality in that statement. No one is going to be in touch once you fail to serve them a purpose. That's how my friends have been this year. Story 18. Got back with a group of old buddies. Been playing a massively multiplayer online role-playing game together. Tomorrow might be the last time I see my dad this side of the grave. Tomorrow is also my son's 13th birthday. As a Jew, this is a significant occasion. An ex of mine needed some comfort after her divorce. The ex-wife and mother of my child is recovering after years of nerve damage. All she had to do was follow the advice I gave her 20 years ago. Although, to be fair, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Story 19. I realized the same thing with myself recently, that no one really talks to me unless I initiate a conversation first. I never get the offer of a drink or going for food or generally hanging out. It's normally me that does the asking, even then it's usually a no. Oh well. Story 20. I never had a friend, and the excuse I like telling myself is it's because my family moved places a lot, so I never had time to make connections with anyone. That I don't like having the obligation to always talk to anyone, and I always overanalyze what others may think of me are reasons I still brush under the rug. Surprisingly, though, I always find myself initiating small talk with, say, classmates, and I can tell my social skills are far from terrible. There are, of course, times that it would have been better to have someone to spend time with, like this crisis that has restrained us in our houses, But I don't know, I got used to just being content and finding comfort with myself. Story 21. I've got pretty sturdy friendships, but I wish I could find more people who didn't drink or smoke weed. Very difficult in my neck of the woods, Portland, Oregon. Story 22. When we were in true lockdown in the spring, a bunch of my college friends tried to maintain doing Zoom calls every 2 weeks. Once the weather got warmer, though, we stopped doing the Zoom calls and pretty much stopped talking to each other. It was bizarre. I mean, I get it. With nicer weather, we were all occupied doing things outside. I believe it was towards the end of July. I was having a real emotional low point. I realized that I hadn't spoken to any of my friends in 3 months. I texted and called all my friends, tried to meet up, chat, that type of thing. I was depressed when I was around middle school, so I kind of knew the warning signs, so I did my best to pull myself out of that dark path. Once I started talking with my friends, they started talking about the same type of thing. One friend started to have marital problems, and another had to go into therapy. One thing I learned is to speak up. If you're not doing okay, then say you're not doing okay. People will reach out. People will help. Don't forget to take care of yourself, my friends. If you're not feeling right, talk to your friends and the people who care about you. It's okay to be down. It's okay to feel not okay. And also, when people do reach out, you've got to connect with them and be there for each other. Be well, my friends. Story 23. My friendships are all dead. I was married for 5 years to a jealous, abusive, and overbearing person. It killed all of my relationships. I've been free for a year, and now being a single father makes it difficult to make new friends. But I am currently open to making new friends or building new relationships. Edit. Anybody want to be my friend? Story 24. My friendships have held steady. Right now, people are still inviting me onto group calls, and we are playing games together as a substitute for hanging out, barbecuing, or going to the pub. I only hang out with my 2 best friends. Apart from that, it's just work colleagues. While they are perfectly friendly, we've all grown up a bit and don't party as hard as we used to together. Story 25. I broke things off with one friend of 10 years because she had this really nasty habit of getting into relationships with badly damaged people as a way to avoid fixing her own problems. I ended the sexual part of a friends with benefits relationship and it went over fine. I did it because someone else asked me to be in a committed relationship. The person and I are still good friends, and I still get to see his legendary dog. I've become even closer with 2 people that moved out of the city. With one, we go hiking and relax in the forest. With another, we play video games and make food together. Overall, a mixed bag, but I'm grateful for human interaction. My friends are precious to me, and I don't give them up until I confirm the relationship is broken beyond repair. Story 26. Testing. It's hard to hear everyone's opinions about the virus, protests, riots, mask wearing, Black Lives Matter, etc. when you have developed your own opinion. Instead of arguing, I focus on listening and trying to move on to the next subject as quickly as possible. Story 27. I'm actually being more social now than I've been for years. Before the pandemic, whenever we tried to get a couple of people together, odds were good that at least one person wouldn't show up due to other obligations. Now that everyone is at home anyway, we keep in contact more and we get to play Dungeons and Dragons almost every week, a thing that was unheard of before. Story 28. They have been okay, I guess. I made a lot of new friends that are really cool, but some of my best friends that I have known for years, I have not been able to see much due to their crazy work schedules. Story 29. All but roughly 3 ended disastrously. An enemy of mine slandered and manipulated an entire friend group away from me, and I lost several people important to me over incredibly poor education. Currently, my closest friends are the ones not in that group or the one guy who also hated my enemy enough to not give him the time of day. The ex-girlfriend of a former friend has been talking to me a lot this past month, really wanting to hang out. She's trying hard to get into a situation where she doesn't get tempted by drinking and stripping, which is admirable, but I'm not sure I want to hang with her because drama chases her, and my year has been pretty bad. I've deleted dozens of people for their incredibly extreme views as well, and am basically down to a handful of people I don't despise in my life. If it wasn't for my sister, I think I'd go days without talking to people. Story 30. The vast majority of my friendships are long distance, so not much has changed. Even before COVID, I would only see them once or twice a year. When lockdown started and we were stuck in our homes, we had long phone calls. Now we're able to start arranging to meet up again. I've kept in touch with everyone I expected to. I've been chatting with a few people online as well. Some have definitely progressed into friendships where we've met up in person. I think this pandemic has shown me that I rely on people a lot more than I thought. When things get back to normal, I'm going to make more of an effort to make some new friends. I have enough people to chat with, but few in my day-to-day life that I can call up on a whim to get a pint with, hang out, or whatever.